And we're back with AP as we see it, and our very special guest, Yogi Roth, Big Ten Network and analyst extraordinaire. Yogi, we were discussing this Ohio State-Texas game. Do you have a strong feel for this game? Who might win?
Yeah, I feel confident. And I always go back to when you're doing conversations like this, like, what do you trust the most?
Right.
I trust Ohio State the most. I went back and watched a bunch of Texas games, specifically Georgia, tried to find comps, right, physically. Of course, the Clemson game and the most recent ones against Arizona State. And I just feel like offensively, they haven't been at their best. They're going to have to be, right? It's going to be probably a limited possession game. Ohio State will huddle up, right?
Yes.
Like they're gonna lean on you, like I referenced in our earlier segment about what Big Ten teams do.
Right.
They're gonna try to run the football. They're gonna try to slow the game down, I think, to a certain degree, and get the ball to their playmakers. So when Texas has the rock, they're going to have to score touchdowns. They're going to have to win in the red zone. And I think defensively, the biggest thing I'll be watching is they play a ton of zone coverage until they get in around the 25-yard line in the red zone. Okay, so I'd imagine in that zone coverage, they're going to say, Jeremiah Smith, you are not going to beat us. Right, so where does Chip Kelly go? How do they utilize the tight ends? Think of all the counters and the movement by offensive linemen and tight ends, the motion from wideouts. Chip will have his answers too against Pete Kwiatkowski. I love the matchup in that regard. I think it'll be brilliant. I mean, XO-wise, this will be as fun as we'll see in the country. And really, when you look at even the game tonight and tomorrow, the defensive coordinators are getting no play. Think about it with Tom Allen and Al Golden in the first game of these semifinals. It's awesome when you think of these masterminds on that side of the ball in this ball game.
Yeah. What about the tight ends for both teams?
Yeah.
Is anybody having an advantage? I know Texas likes to use their tight end quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I think Ohio State, we see them too continue to use it. I was a fan, like the tight end will take you to the ball. Right?
Exactly. I love tight ends.
Totally. Sark is a huge part of it. I think both of these offenses really like to dress up eye candy. Sark much more. Sark, I think they're 52% shifted motion pre-snap in the country, which I think is 17th, right around there.
Right.
They'll continue to do that. They're going to have to do a lot in this game. They have to give their offense clean and clear pictures. So I'll be curious. And then when they get a first down, do they decide to go fast? Do they try to get the ball out to their tight ends? I mean, both teams have run a version of the same play in their most recent game where they kind of leak the tight end down the sideline. Sark did it in the game against Arizona State. And I think Clemson early on, first play of the game last week at the Rose Bowl for Chip Kelly was to G. Scott. So I think we'll see some similarities in this regard from that position.
Yeah. Just looking at college football this season, what surprised you about this 24 season?
Well, I think probably the SEC.
Yes, I think so.
I think that was a surprise. I mean, I think the obvious answer would be Arizona State and Indiana.
Yes.
Nobody saw them.
Yes. I love that, by the way.
Yeah. It's the best part of it. I mean, I think that's why this playoff was built. All the complaining about it, who got in, I'm like, it was built so the same people don't always get in. It's built that your reputation, your roster doesn't get you in what you do on the field. That when you lose to Oklahoma or when you lose in games that we've seen teams in the SEC lose, you don't just get a pass. It's not an invitational is what I always say. We're not going to the Great Alaskan Shootout or the Maui Invitational. I mean, this is
you have to earn
a playoff. You got to earn it.
And they had multiple chances. I mean, Alabama, a team had the two losses, and they still had the chance to beat Oklahoma. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. I covered that game. Kentucky one win, Power 5 win, Power 4 win. And then Ole Miss had the chance at the end, 2 weeks before the season, to go down to Gainesville, couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
South Carolina, they had a really nice season. I think they were surprised in that league. And then, the bowl game, they lost to Illinois. But, they're improving, making strides, South Carolina, Shane Beamer. And then you had a team like Vanderbilt. That was awesome. 0 wins the year before in the conference. Here you are beating Alabama. First time to beat a number 1 team, I think it's 60 tries. You take Texas to that 3-point game. You take Missouri to 2 overtimes. You played in the bowl. You win a bowl against a Georgia Tech team that gave Georgia all they wanted in all those overtimes. So I think it was so much fun. In the SEC, I tell people, and I think I said it the last segment, these coaches now will have to earn their money because of the rosters are very similar. So you can't just roll out the football and say, all right, let's go get them.
Well, I think also, I've always felt the inequities in college football were really disappointing. 8 conference games versus 9. I get why it was 8. If I was a commissioner, I'd only play 8 too.
Right.
Because you give my league the best path.
They're looking for that bowl,
That's
6 wins.
But I think now, when you look at this playoff, you got to win 4 games. I mean, This is Texas and Penn State, their 16th game. That's an NFL season.
Yes.
So take any of those teams in the SEC that had they all had their moment in the sun, whether it was Georgia beating Texas twice, whether it was Alabama beating Georgia at home in the style they did. But in the playoff, you got to be really talented. And I think that's what we've seen with the 4 teams that remain is that they're by far, not by far, but they're 4 teams that earned it. They didn't just have talented rosters.
No.
They had to win multiple games against premium competition. I know people light up Penn State in that regard, but coming out of the deepest conference in the country, you got to give them props for how they have played under James Franklin. That's why tonight will be such a fascinating matchup against Notre Dame.
What do you think about that Penn State Notre Dame? To me, just an observation, they seem similar. They're the teams that drive the field. The explosiveness. They have a player or two. Love, the running back from Notre Dame.
Yeah,
he
hope
can
he goes
take it
tonight.
80 yards. I think he'll go. But I think they're teams you watch. They play good defense and they drive the field on offense.
Yeah, I think Abdul Carter is going to be a big question mark.
Yes.
Penn State, and when I go
Right.
back to that training camp tour, and it's Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon in no particular order that had the most competitive depth. And I'm a believer in quarterback play that you don't have to be the most premium passer.
You don't.
Riley Leonard in college football is a winner. Period.
Yes.
End of story. The offense runs through him, right? 4-down territory. It could be 3rd and 11. He can run it for 6 and put them in 4th and manageable to go for it at midfield. That's going to be the part of this game that I love. I think I tilt to Penn State just because of Drew Aller. I don't think he gets enough play. I think he and Quinn are the purest passers. He's physically the most imposing guy, I think, remaining in the playoff. I think, like every great quarterback or gifted quarterback, they have to have scars. They have to have gone through some stuff.
Yeah.
Drew's done that.
He does. He has.
And then you add an Andy Kolnicki in their offense. If they make the plays down the field, because they'll be there, they'll get a chance to win this game. If Notre Dame can slow it down, play that Big Ten style of football where they own the clock like they did against Georgia. They took it to Georgia.
They did,
They were the better team.
They were, yeah.
In every phase.
They play good defense,
They play
too.
great defense under Al
Very good,
Golden.
very good.
Andy Kolnicki, Al Golden, come on, man. It's going to be awesome to watch that element of this ball game. But I think Penn State edges them. And I think in the most ironic way, in the expanded playoff, we get an all-Big Ten
All-Big Ten national championship, right? The one thing about their quarterback from Penn State, it seemed like he tends to hold the ball a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Exceptional tight end. I mean, how can you guard somebody 6'6"? Who on your team could stay with them play after play? I mean, yeah, you stop them sometime, but the whole game,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, I referenced Texas and their motion. Penn State's one of the best in America, shifts in motions. They move him so often. It's such a challenge. You could always say as a fan, we watch the games, we're like, double him. Well, you can't double a guy when he motions from one side to the other.
Yes,
He lines up
no.
at running back. He
Yes.
lines up at center.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sometimes you got to just play it straight because they do have other weapons. They can
Yeah.
run the
Oh,
football.
yes, yes.
They've got 2 premium backs. They've got
Yes,
receivers that have
they
made
do,
plays
Penn
down the
State does.
field. And Drew's a threat with his legs. So I think Andy Kolnicki has done a heck of a job of creating ways to get him singled up or finding areas and zones. I don't think you can take him away. I mean, the only way you take him away is you don't let him have the ball.
Yeah.
And that'll be the time of possession. I'm telling you, I think it's the Ohio State game and that game. I'm going to be so curious to see the style in which Ohio State plays. They say, you know what, we're just not going to give you the ball, Texas.
Right.
And vice versa for
Keep
Notre
away.
Dame.
Yeah, keep away. You can. That's your best defense.
Yeah.
Is your offense, and
I think so.
and it starts with your offensive line. If you can block people, keep them off your quarterback, run the football. That's your best defense, really.
No doubt. And I think for both of these teams, like Notre Dame's high pressure, Texas is not, right? So for Drew Aller against a high pressure outfit, you got to recognize it and get the ball out. For
Yeah.
Will Howard, it's you got to recognize it, and they're going to force you to hold on to the ball. So you have to make those post-snap decisions and
Right.
be able to, he referenced it this week, of like learning to check the ball down has been one of the best things that Chip Kelly has really imprinted into his game as a QB.
Yeah, Will. Yeah, I like Will. I like his attitude. I interviewed him at the Manning Passing Academy,
nice.
and he spoke about winning the national championship.
Wow.
Way
Run
back
that
in the
sound back.
summertime. Yeah. And I went back and looked at it, and big smile on his face. He was embracing the total challenge, which not many people will do. And at Ohio State, we know that they've been trying to win that championship again for a while. So I think this is going to be the perfect quarterback for them. I
Yeah.
just had that feeling about
He's
him.
playing the best he's ever played in his life.
Yeah.
Look at the accuracy downfield, decision making. And again, he's been through it too, right? This is a guy from Pennsylvania to Kansas State, had to win the job there. It's the only team in the Big 12 they didn't beat was Texas, trying to avenge some of that stuff. And I think most importantly, he's learned how to navigate when things don't go well. That's what I'm most curious about for Ohio State. If they get down 10-3, how do they handle it in this game? Because we haven't seen that since the Michigan game.
Yeah, no. I think they're ready. I just think they believe in their talent right now.
Yeah.
And they just, for whatever reason, that Michigan game, it was strange to everybody, and especially their fans were so disappointed. But they revived themselves. They rejuvenated that offense and the defense, and they have a really positive attitude. Hey, Yogi, we want to thank you so much for being part of AP as we see it. Yogi Roth, watch him on the Big Ten Network. He's a fabulous analyst, and we're so thankful to have him here at the Cotton Bowl. And it's snowing in Dallas, Yogi.
Snowing in Dallas, but fires in L.A. It's wild, man.
And we'll be back next week for another edition of AP as we see it. Thank you very much.
Nice, brother.
Hey, that was good.